G'day, you're watching the reader at Down Under Tarot, broadcasting from the wide brown land, and today I'd like to revisit the first video I made for this channel over a year ago now. This one here. Viewers, when I started this YouTube channel, it was my intention to do things that are not typically done on other tarot related channels. I wouldn't do new release deck reviews, I wouldn't do pick-a-pile general readings, and I wouldn't do readings about current American politics. Instead, I would do live readings via Zoom, rants about tarot controversies, not so new deck test drives to assess their usability, and readings about mysterious news stories that I thought would never lead to an embarrassing exposure of my lack of clairvoyance. My first video was one of these. What was going to happen to Yevgeny Prigozhin following his aborted mutiny? And I predicted that Russian President Vladimir Putin would see Prigozhin as a longer-term asset and keep him on ice rather than do away with him. How did that go? Well, as per the title slide, I botched it. Around 2 months after that video was published here, the BBC reported on the 24th of August 2023 in an article titled "Wagner Chief Yevgeny Prigozhin Presumed Dead After Russian Plane Crash." That article is linked in the notes below. The article said that Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin was on the passenger list of a jet which crashed in Russia, killing all 10 people on board, Russia's Civil Aviation Authority says. Prigozhin's aircraft, an Embraer 135, was flying from Moscow to St. Petersburg on the Wednesday before that date with 7 passengers and 3 crew, the Aviation Authority continued. Senior Wagner commander Dmitry Utkin, who founded that group in 2014, was also on the passenger list, it said. The plane is reported to have come down near the village of Kutz-Henkino, about halfway between Moscow and St. Petersburg. One report said the body of Prigozhin, 62, had been found and identified, but this has not been officially confirmed. It is also suspected that the plane was shot down with a ground-launched missile. Viewers, in my standard disclaimer, which is also in the notes below, I state that I do believe that the cards can reveal insights into what may come to pass and give us new perspectives on our situations. So, in the face of my failure to predict the fate of Yevgeny Prigozhin's demise, should I renounce this belief, or does the fault lie somewhere else? Let's have a closer look at that reading, shall we? If you go back and watch that first video, and I hope you do, you'll see that I used my copy of Conrad Stein's Vintagey Pam A deck to do a 4-card narrative spread. The cards were the Knight of Swords, the 5 of Cups, Temperance, and the 4 of Cups. When I first looked at these cards, I was drawn to reading them from the perspective of Putin, and that the first card, a court card, was how he saw his antagonist. Now, it's my practice to view the Knight of Swords as the adversary, and I thought, reasonably enough, that this was how Putin viewed Prigozhin, that he needed to be vanquished because he was a threat. Whatever happens to him, it's not going to be particularly good, I pronounced in that first video. There was speculation that he would travel to Moscow and be allowed to collect his arms and leave with them, and I sarcastically noted that Putin was unlikely to allow this. Okay, so far so good. Next, I interpreted the 5 of Cups as indicating that Putin felt betrayed and let down by Prigozhin. He was, after all, someone Putin trusted to pursue Russia's interests in the war with the Ukraine, and as a mercenary with a reputation for brutality, Prigozhin was likely to be given license to ignore the rules of war while allowing Putin to claim he had no responsibility for any atrocities Prigozhin might carry out. That cosy arrangement came to an end when Prigozhin abandoned that work and turned his private army towards Moscow. Okay, so far so good. I took the Temperance card as pointing to Putin's disposition after Prigozhin abandoned his mutiny and accepted Belarusian President Lukashenko's offer of allowing him a safe exile in his country. Safe is in scare quotes because Lukashenko is universally acknowledged to be Putin's puppet. Putin, I opined, considered he was no longer under threat and that he might have a future need for Prigozhin and his resources. That instead of sending him to a Siberian gulag or murdering him, he would be disposed to either letting Prigozhin live in exile or in a house arrest situation in Russia itself. Okay, so that's where the wheels got a little pear-shaped. Finally, I interpreted the Four of Cups as Putin not knowing or appreciating what you've got, which I took to communicate that Prigozhin would realise that he still had some capacity to step back into Putin's good books and continue his career in gratuitous violence. And then I guess we can say that the reading went completely arse over tit. Viewers, I would like you to consider my hypothesis that the cards did indeed reveal insights into what may come to pass or came to pass, and that it was my failure to read the cards from an informed standpoint that led to me coming a cropper. The turning point for my reading was how I interpreted the Temperance card. Was it at all likely that Putin would be temperate? No, that's as likely as me winning next year's Brownlow medal. You see, viewers, going into that reading, I knew who Putin was and is, and that should have prompted me to read the Temperance card with some of its reverse associations. It might have been wise for Putin to take a temperate approach to dealing with his erstwhile mutineer, but that's not how he deals with threats to his hold on power. Rather, he just gets rid of them. Wait, I used a funny term there. What is a reverse association? Well, I'm glad you asked. A lot of cartomancers turn half their decks upside down so that when they are shuffled, some cards are dealt inverted or in reverse. Those that do this technique often interpret reverse cards as having an oppositional meaning to the card's upright interpretation, intemperance instead of temperance. Or they might interpret it as an unreasonable resistance to the card's advice, refusing to take a temperate approach. I don't do reversals. Instead, I like to leave it to my intuition and what I know about the reading's subjects, be they actual querents sitting across the table from me or newsworthy people half a world away. In this case, I didn't do that, when I probably should have. The Sydney Morning Herald rubbed that egg on my face when it reported on the same day, the 24th of August 2023, that we should never forget how Putin treats those who pose a threat to him. Poisonings, detainment, torture, disappearances, falls from windows, and now probably a plane shot from the sky. Putin, an ex-KGB officer, has maintained that the one thing he cannot forgive is betrayal. And again, there's a link to this article in the notes below. How unforgiving is Putin? Well, it's generally understood that since 2003, he has organised the deaths of 10 other high-profile critics to his regimes. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce these Russian names because I have no idea how they should be pronounced. I've not really heard them before, but I've read the names on the screen. So I'll put the names up along with their photos, and you can see that since 2003, he has been quite brutal on those who oppose him. So, with 2020 hindsight, of course I should have read the Temperance card with some reversed notions. It might have been in Putin's best interest to be temperate, but he doesn't do temperance, or many other of the virtues, I'm sure. Instead, he does wrath. So, viewers, have I convinced you that the cards did reveal insights into what came to pass, and that I just botched it? Or am I just trying to pull the wool over your eyes? You can let me know in the comments below. In any case, I think I'll take more care in choosing future world news readings. My second world news readings about the White House cocaine scandal, I don't think will ever be solved officially, so there we go. Stories like that are probably better things for me to do. So, I've been the reader, now signing off from the only country that rhymes with failure. copulator.